Hi. Happy Thursday to you all. I love doing these on Thursday because to me it's Thankful Thursday, one of my favorite days of the week. Um, Actually, all the days of the week are pretty much my favorite. Any day that ends in Y, I kind of love a lot. So that wasn't always like that. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors, and this is Hope, helping other people evolve. What my mission here is just to help people get through struggles to get to a strength. Some weeks I interview people that have been through a struggle that have gotten through a strength. Some weeks it's just me going solo, sharing with you a little bit of hope that I've incurred in my life. You know, for me to sit here and do this, it took me a long time to get over exactly what I'm going to talk about, the fear of doing this. I was scared to death to do this. I'm not kidding you guys. When I launched this podcast, I put it off for a year. I'm kind of ashamed to say that I put it off that long, but I really did. But in my defense on that, I'm just going to say is it wasn't the time. The timing was definitely not right for it, and I could say that, but honestly, it was the fear. It was my fear of failure, my fear of, will anybody listen? My fear of, am I good enough for this? My fear of comparing myself to people, my fear of just not getting it right. You know what? I don't always get it right. I get on here and I'm a nervous wreck every time. And I just pray before I get on, as many of you know, if you've listened to some of my podcasts. I love God. I love Jesus. And whatever your belief is, whether it's a universe or whatever you believe in, is absolutely fine with me because I love everybody. And that's just the way that it is. So tonight, I want to talk to you a little bit about fear. Fear. That's a little four-letter word. It's kind of like when I talk about hope. Actually, I mean they're two definitely different ends of the spectrum, but hope is just a four-letter word, right? But what a big word that is. And I don't want to make fear be a big word because it is such a little word, but fear stops so many people. And a lot of times we don't even realize that it's fear. We use the what if this happens? What if this goes wrong? What if, what if, what if? You want to talk about a little word is if, what if? So what if it works? What if it's okay? What if it's the best day of your life? What if you do something and you're like, man, why was I so afraid of that for so long? Why was I worried? Why was I in fear? I looked up a couple acronyms of fear. And so I just want to ask you, what does fear look like to you? What does it look like to you? Does it look like fear? I forget everything and run. Like I run, like I'm out of here. There's that fear, I'm gone. Or is it false evidence appearing real? Like you get it all manifested in your head how terrible the whole scenario is going to be or what could happen. And it could be the worst thing in the world. You don't put in your head the scenario of it could be the greatest thing in the world. And so you just believe that that's real. That is the real scenario. No matter if you're going to try it or not, you're not even going to try it because that fear is there. Or do you face everything and rise? That's what fear should be. Face everything and rise. I like to say, hold on one second. I'm sorry. I got to put my phone on mute here because otherwise we're going to get dings. I say this all the time. Fear is more of a mind shift that we have to do. I today I googled a couple people and I was like, okay, how many times did so and so fail? So I looked at Thomas Edison because I knew Thomas Edison had failed a lot of times, right? And 10,000 times he failed. Now this is the inventor of the light bulb, right? 10,000 times he failed. Can you imagine 10,000 times? I know that most of us here, at least me, failing 10 times. And I'm like, that's it. Peace out. I can't do this anymore because of the fear of failing again. You know, um, who is he? I'm sorry. Let me look here. The other guy, Abe Lincoln, the other guy, just that Abe Lincoln, the president. So he failed elections. He didn't win a few elections. I don't know exactly what the elections were, but he did not win. And he still went on to go and be president of the United States. He could have let fear stop him. He could have been like, man, I didn't win that, whatever election it was way back then, city council, let's just say, I didn't win city council. I'm not going to go do that again. I mean, look at people are going to look at me like going, really? He's going to do that again? He already didn't win that election. Think about it. Think about how much we let fear stop us in our tracks. I can only say this, when I get on here, I am telling you just the things I've been through. I don't know a whole lot about anything, but I do know this. I'm here today as a survivor of many things. I my first podcast, I explained a little bit about my story of life and my addiction and my alcoholism and my abuse and losing a child and just a lot of things, right? That I've been through. And for years, I feared. I feared a lot. I had a lot of fear. I had the fear of when I first started sharing my story of hope years ago, I had a fear of like, why, who's going to believe me? Who's going to want to listen to this girl that was an alcoholic, this girl that was beaten, this girl that worked 80 hours and just drank and didn't even see her son that much because she was just working to make sure that he had everything. Who's going to believe that little freckled girl that in school hung out with all the burnouts? Who's going to believe me? I had that fear. I had that fear of failing. I had that fear of, well, what if I get on there and somebody laughs at me? I had that fear of, what if somebody gets on there and they're like, oh, Tammy, your story is not helping anybody? What are those fears that I held inside of me? And then one day I thought, you know what? What if, what if I share my story of hope and I help one person? That's great, right? So I started sharing my story a little more. And I'm going to go a little bit into this what really stopped me a lot and I don't know, it might sound silly to some of you, but it's definitely not silly to me and this is what really stopped me for a long time. And I want to share this with people because I feel like a lot of times this is what stops us from doing things and it's unfortunate and it's really unfortunate because it's usually the people that are closest to us that stop us. They're the naysayers, or they're the ones that don't believe in us, or they're the ones that look at us and just shake their head like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? Who's going to listen to you? And this is what stopped me. I come from a family of definitely alcoholics, addicts, all of that, correct? And many of them have passed on. Some of them are still here. But I remember I have I have one niece that is she overdosed a few years ago. I have another niece that she had some problems as a teenager. She's doing so much better now. And I'm not throwing their names out there or anything like that because just for them. But anyways, and I also have a sister that's a practicing alcoholic. And I I thought to myself, and this is what stopped me. How can I go help other people when I can't even help my own family? And I had to learn that my family, they just they just don't they're it's a hard thing to talk about because your family is the farthest that believes you, right? I've learned that from a lot of experience with a lot of different things. They're the ones that are the last ones to be like, oh yeah, I get it. You might get a message once in a while like, hey, that was really good, you inspired me, but usually not. And that it is what it is and that's okay with me now. But for the longest time, that's what stopped me. How can I help other people if I can't even help my own family? Well, one day I got a phone call from somebody after I had shared my story. And I had worked with this girl and this was years ago. And she told me, she's like, Timmy, I'm an alcoholic and I don't know what to do. I'm going to lose my marriage. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what to do, but I do know that I've listened to you and you've given me hope. And at that moment, I thought, you know what? Yes, what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I picked her up and we went to an AA meeting together. And I could say, gosh, I want to say maybe this was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And she's still sober to this day. So yeah, when I get those messages, I've helped a few people get sober like that. And why? Because I shared my story of hope. Why? Because I didn't let fear stop me. Fear will stop you in your tracks. It will stop you from doing so many things. And I just, from myself, I don't know. I'm just giving my advice from what I've done. And I've had to really get in my own head, which is never fun. I'm just telling you, it's never fun to get in your own head. But I'm going to tell you what, once you can get in your head and you can start controlling your own mind, it's going to make the biggest difference in your life. When you start really working on you and stop worrying about all this out here, all the outsiders out there, what they're thinking, what they're doing, it's a lot different for you. And I'm not saying don't be like, "Oh, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care. I'm just going to go do what I do." That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. But don't let the fear of others stop you from being great. Don't let the fear of others stop you from helping somebody else. Don't let the fear of what someone else is going to say about what you're doing stop you from changing the world. We live in a society today that people, oh, it's ugly out there, and it breaks my heart because I'm not that person. Man, I love everybody. I just heard, I'm gonna kind of throw her names out there. I hope it's okay. I didn't ask her, but I think it'll be okay. Danelle Delgado said this last night, and I loved it. She said, "I love everybody, and I like some people." Okay, that's so good because I think about that, man. I love people. Anybody that knows me, maybe you're not on here, maybe you're on here and you've never met me before and you have no idea who Tammy Lynn Connors is, or maybe you do know who Tammy Lynn Connors is. But I love people. I love people. I walk through a store. I compliment people. I hold doors for people. I smile at people. I do all the things for other people. That doesn't mean that I like them all. I don't know them all to like them all. But that was really cool when she said that because that's all I want to do is I want to love the world. That's just who I am. I want to offer hope to the world. That's just who I am. That's my vision. But I can't let the fear of what if it doesn't work stop me. What if it does work? What if I decide to go on this 50 States of Hope tour and I change one person's life in each state? What if that happens? What if I go out and people are like, "Oh, there's that Hope truck," and give me a smile? What if I just change a person's life that day? What if I don't let fear stop me? Do you know that if we don't let fear stop us, we are unstoppable? I read a book. It was called The Untethered Soul. I can't remember who it's by, but it's The Untethered Soul. And I had been talking to a counselor at that time. And I've said this and I'll say it to this day. There's nothing wrong with you guys talking to a counselor. I think counselors, everyone should see a counselor. We all need it. And if you can't find like a counselor, then there's a big counselor up there that you can talk to. But the Untethered Soul, it's really a good book and it's really about mindset. And I know people are like, all you talk about is mindset. All you talk about is this. All you talk about is this. You know what? I have to talk about mindset and positivity and gratitude and all that because why? It keeps my head right. If I get up in the morning and I don't do my gratitude and I don't say my prayers and I get out of that bed and let's just say I stub my toe and I go in a whirlwind of, oh my gosh, that hurt. This is the worst day ever. Now, what am I going to do? And then I run out of gas, or this happens, and this happens, and this happens. Man, I just let that Lego effect go. So I have to get my mind right before I even get out of my bed. And it's funny because it's kind of how it works. You know, it's learning to control things in our life. It's learning to control how we react to things. I do a lot of things that people think that it's silly. Like I'll jump in my truck and drive across the country, and people are like, "Aren't you afraid to drive across the country by yourself?" No. Should I be? No. Why would I be? I don't have to be afraid. What is fear going to do? It's going to paralyze me. It's going to stop me. I'm not going to be able to do the things I do. Don't get me wrong. Some days I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. And I will, a lot of times I pray about things like, what do you think? Should I try this? Should I not do this? Should I get out of my comfort zone and try it? What's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? I fail. Okay, guess what? So I fail. So I maybe fall down. But guess what I can do? I can get back up again. I can pull up my big girl pants. I can tie up my shoelaces again. And I can go for it, whatever the next thing is that I'm going to do. If I let fear stop me, I'm just going to sit in my house and do nothing. I'm not that girl. There is no way that I'm just going to sit around and do nothing. I am going to be out here in this world for the next however long that God has me here, which I hope is a really long time because I have a lot of hope to share. And I'm just going to keep sharing hope. I'm just going to keep sharing sunshine. I listened to something yesterday that said either you are lighting people's candles or you're blowing them out. And this was a scenario, and I love this. And maybe you guys could kind of relate if you listen to it like this. So let's just say you get up in the morning and you're just like, yep, did my gratitude. I'm having a great day. You walk outside, you see the mail lady or the mailman, and you're like, hey, how are you today? You give them a smile and they're like, man, thank you. I needed that smile today. So they go back to work for lunch or whatever, and they're sitting there talking, and all of a sudden they're in a better mood. And the other post office worker is like, wow, you're in a really great mood today. And they're like, yeah, it started with a smile. And so it's cool because, and then they go into this conversation. And then the other girl's like, yeah, that's great. Wow, you just made my day brighter too. She goes home to her family, cooks dinner, has a great night, right? So the candle's lit and you just keep lighting and keep shining that brightness and brightness and brightness and brightness. Or there's the opposite of that. You could blow that candle out. You could get up in the morning, not to be grateful, not do anything like that. Go outside, I don't know, maybe you got a flat tire that morning. I don't want to say that to anybody, but maybe it happens, right? You go outside and you're like, that starts your day off bad. So now you're at Tire Man and you're in a line, and then you're mad at the man at Tire Man because it's taking too long. Not his fault, but it is right now because you're in a bad place. That Tire Man guy, he's like, good Lord, man, you just made me have a bad day. Now I'm gonna go home, and he's gonna go home and he's gonna be grumpy to his wife and kids. Right. And it just is that effect. So what are you doing? Are you lighting people's candles or are you blowing them out? Think about it. Think about it. I know, I know there's grumpy people in this world. And all I try to do with those grumpy people is share my smile. I don't have a fear that they're going to yell at me. Guess what? If they yell at me, I will look at them and say, I'm sorry that you're having that bad of a day. I will say a prayer for you. They might get mad at me for saying that. It's okay, because of what is important is how I react to people. And if I react in fear, the fear of saying something, the fear of being a light in someone's world, this world's going to remain dark. We need more light in this world. We need more people that are showing compassion. We need more people to step out of their fear and be a light to others. Stop worrying about what social media is doing, because that's what the biggest thing is. Out here going, okay, I'm on social media. What are they going to say? What are they going to think? Listen, if I'm out here spreading hope and I'm out here spreading joy and I'm trying to diminish fear, guess what? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We are supposed to love people. That's what we're supposed to do. It says it in the Bible. It says it all over the place. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. And love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. When you're talking to somebody else the way that you do sometimes, think about how you would feel if you got talked to like that. Listen, I've had to take a check on myself. I have a person in my life that can trigger my buttons like that. Like, boom, here I go. This is not Tammy Lynn Connors, the smiling, happy light of the world, right? She can take me to a whole nother level. But I've been working on this with myself. And I've had to draw back and I've had to think about it. And I've had to be like, just take some deep breaths, take some deep breaths, take some deep breaths. It's going to be okay. Don't let somebody ruin your day because of what they're doing. Don't let somebody ruin your day because of what they're saying to you. Don't let somebody ruin your day because they're mad at the world. Just bring light back to them. Smile at them. Give them the things that they need, which is hope, which is joy, which is gratitude, which is a smile, which is just a compliment. It's not hard to do. I give people compliments all the time. And when I do it, it's like they've never heard one before. And maybe sometimes, you hate to say this, but maybe sometimes they haven't. Maybe sometimes they never have had a compliment. Maybe you just made their day. Maybe you're that person that they're going to look up and say, man, I need to find her on social media or on YouTube or wherever. Maybe because you're going to change their life. So think about that. I know I went with a whole bunch of different things here like hope, fear, gratitude, but I just wanted to get it all out because it's all been heavy on my heart this week. Like, we need to come together and we need to be nicer people to everybody, everybody, everybody. That's really all I have for tonight. I'm super excited. I have some great interviews coming up in the next week that you guys are gonna just love. I appreciate you all tuning into Hope. And I just pray that you all have a blessed day. I pray that anybody that's listening on here, maybe you can reach out to someone if you are having those fears, and not let worry ruin your life. Don't let worry change anything, because here's the deal. And I learned this a long time ago in an Al-Anon meeting or an AA meeting. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. This was before I even had a problem. I think I might have had a problem then. I just didn't admit it yet. But worry is like a rocking chair. It gets you nowhere. Worry is like a merry-go-round. It just goes around in circles. You're not getting anywhere. You can sit and worry and have fear about something and worry about it, worry about it, worry about it, worry about it, and get to wherever it's at. And none of the scenario that you played in your head, none of that scenario you played in your head is anywhere. It didn't happen. I've talked, that's a big thing that I've talked to a lot. My mom and I used to have this conversation all the time because she was the biggest worrier. And I'd be like, stop, you can't change what's going to happen. So let's just go with it, see what happens. And when it happens, then we will deal with it with whatever the outcome is. But right now, there's no sense in worrying yourself because people, I'm going to tell you what, stress, worry, fear, is a major killer of people, and they just don't know it because it's so underlying that you don't see it and it sneaks up on people. So don't let stress and worry and fear ruin you. I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you all are blessed and have an amazing day. I said it once, I'll say it twice. Sometimes I'll say it 3 times, but that's just who I am. Bye, guys.